This is not a 3-game thing. This is really diving into where we were as a program. What is the trajectory of this program? And you all know, and I'm not shy to admit it, I'm here to win national championship. I believe our fans deserve that. And I wake up every day trying to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I absolutely love it here. And I want us to continue to take the steps needed for us to turn this thing into a beast. And players all across the country want to come here. We have the best facilities. We have elite fans. And, I'm just looking at the future. So, but again, I love that place. I love Pat. I love James Franklin. I'm sad that came to an end. I wish him the absolute best. But I'm really happy here and excited to get going this week on Minnesota.
So you hear the Penn State side of things, then you hear the Matt Rhule side of things, and now we dive even further into Penn State and their situation of moving on without James Franklin. And we bring in our recruiting experts from 24/7 Sports, Brandon Huffman and Tom Loy. And Brandon, I'll start with you here because now for the Nittany Lions, you look at that recruiting class for 2026. You want to keep the players on your roster. You need to look towards 2027. You don't have a head coach right now. What is going on with the staff and those who are still there in the athletic department of trying to piece things and keep it together?
Well, you're trying to keep your job, whether it's at Penn State, whether it's impressing somebody else at another school. You're trying to keep your job by doing your job. You're on the phone with those 2026s. You're on the phone with the 27s and the 28s, making sure that they know that Penn State is going to come out ahead on this. Now, there may not be a head coach, but you try to convince these guys. You committed to the university, not the coach. You committed to this program, to this school, and not to James Franklin. Now, obviously, James Franklin did the heavy lifting, and so did his assistants. Those assistants don't know if they're going to be back, but the staffers, the position coaches, the coordinators that are recruiting those players, they're trying to stay on staff. They want to remain at Penn State. They want to keep their jobs. They want to impress whoever the new head coach is, that they've been doing all this work in the interim to keep their jobs. So they're either coaching or recruiting for their jobs at Penn State, or they're trying to impress a future employer, but they are trying to work the phones, keep those guys in. They've only lost a couple of commits in the 2026 class. 2027, they've hit the impact right there, but right now it's about trying to keep these guys committed to Penn State, remind them of the resources that were made available to them as part of their decision, and try to hold on to these guys for dear life, because what does it say? Terry Smith wins out. Does he get that job? I mean, his name is being mentioned as a potential dark horse candidate if they win. Well, he wants that staff to have done their job in the meantime. So these guys are continuing to recruit and trying to keep these guys on board, despite other schools probably trying to poach them as well.
Certainly not an easy job at all when you're tasked with needing to recruit when you don't even know if you'll be there for the following seasons moving forward. And Tom, when we talk about the head coaches whose name is being thrown out there as potential being the next guy for Penn State, Matt Rhule squarely there, very high at the list. We heard from him. He's an alum. He has so much love for the school just from the way he's still talking about Penn State. What would hiring Matt Rhule, and let's just throw it out there and say if that does happen, what type of impact do you think that would have on the recruiting trail if Penn State could say, hey, you're going to leave Nebraska and come over here to us?
It's kind of funny when you talk to certain people that are involved, especially when you look at the fan base as well. There's a mixed reaction. There's a lot of people, myself included, that would be excited for Penn State if they were able to go out and get Matt Rhule. I think it would be a huge hire. And I think with a Matt Rhule, I think you get Dylan Raiola as well. So immediately you're taking that next step up if you're Penn State. But again, I don't think they have enough talent around a guy like Dylan Raiola. So if you bring in Matt Rhule, you're bringing Raiola. I don't think there's enough there right now to get that immediate national championship contender, because I don't think there was enough talent right there for James Franklin, for Drew Aller, and the rest of the staff there in State College. So I think it would be, you're playing the long-term game with Matt Rhule. I think you give it a couple years. He brings in his staff, his guys, and then with the transfer portal, it's going to send some shockwaves nationally. They already have a nice class there at Penn State. You got to keep those guys. There's a nice group of guys at Nebraska ready to play in 2026. So if you can bring all of that together, I think that there's potential for immediacy to win right away if you're Penn State. But again, I trust Matt Rhule, and I think that he's very honest when he says, I want to stay at Nebraska. I'm happy there. So we'll see what happens. But I do think it would be a huge, huge victory for Penn State if they land Matt Rhule.
Brandon, money talks in this whole entire situation, and now I'm wondering, is there enough money to go around? Because you look at NIL, you look at the booster help, and everything that Penn State needs to do, giving James Franklin his buyout money. You need to pay a new coach, maybe say $50 million, whether that's Matt Rhule, Manny Diaz, Matt Campbell. We can go on. And then you still have to have the NIL money to field a roster. Is there enough, and are there enough dollars going around in Penn State to make all that happen?
I think so. And I think that it was evident by them firing James Franklin that they knew they needed to make a move. They had to get rid of James Franklin sooner rather than later, so they did that. There's a calculated risk in making that decision and making that move, but you also are making that move knowing it's going to cost you what it does, and you still need the funds for NIL. You still need the funds to buy out another coach, wherever he's coming from, and to pay for his staff. So, yes, I do think Penn State has the money. I mean, they were probably the number 3 program in the Big Ten before Oregon got there in terms of funds, in terms of resources, and with Penn State gearing up for a national championship run in 2025 by keeping so many of those guys that were draft eligible in state college, I think it makes it even more pronounced that they have the resources available. A lot of those guys are going to be coming off the books, so they're going to have newly found money for the 2026 season and beyond to help with the portal, to help with the get right quick. You know, you look at what Indiana did in year 1 under Kurt Cignetti, and there's no excuse and no reason why Penn State can't do that, because they have a better recruiting class, they have a better roster, but they're going to need the resources, they're going to need the money. So yes, I absolutely think that Penn State has the money, and whoever comes in as a coach is going to make sure that before he moves from whatever situation that he's in, there's going to be the resources available to not just compete on a national level, but to be able to win at a national level. So yes, I do think those funds will be there.
It's going to be an interesting few weeks, months down the line to figure out what happens for Penn State and how that affects the whole entire world of the college football landscape after that. Tom Lloyd, Brandon Huffman, thank you so much. We are out of time and have to say goodbye. But, of course, more college football talk can be found over on that college football YouTube page, because in case you didn't know, there are games still to be played, and there's some big ones coming up this weekend. USC and Notre Dame are playing in a ranked showdown. BYU and Utah are both ranked and facing off for the first time since 2009 when both of them are ranked. Scan the QR code. Go get that college football talk for you.